Before we get into today's video, I'd like to give a shout out to two of our newest subscribers, Rico the Grey Wolf and Al Hoyt. Probably Hoyt. And now on with today's video. Greetings, my dear viewers. It is I, Drayhon, and welcome back to Dungeons & Dragons Character Conversion Reloaded, where we take a look at some of my older builds and revamp them, using some new material and new information that we get from these characters. Today is Ratchet, the protagonist of Ratchet and Clank. Well, one of two protagonists from the Ratchet and Clank series. The other one, of course, being Clank. We already did Rivet Reloaded, but now it is time for Ratchet. And the whole reason why I love the Ratchet and Clank series. I'm mostly doing a reload of Ratchet because, well, my first build had a bunch of feature dependencies. So I'm wanting to see if I can cut down on the multi-classing and just focus on two classes. And I think I was able to do so. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get things started. Starting things off with the point-buy system for our stats. We have a 10 in strength, 14 in dexterity, 14 in constitution, 14 in intelligence, an 8 in wisdom, and a 12 in charisma. We're going with an 8 in wisdom. Like I said, last time we did Ratchet, he's intelligent, but not particularly street smart. He's kind of dense at times. For our race, we're going the same thing as Rivet, and we're going with the custom lineage for our placeholder for the Lombax. My original video was Tabaxi, but I wanted to go ahead and go for the custom lineage this time. We'll go ahead and increase intelligence by 2 points. We get the skill in acrobatics, speed of 30 feet, and we get a feat. We're going to go with the fighting initiate, dueling. For the background, we're going to go with Wild Spacer once again, so we can get that space vehicle proficiency. We also get skill proficiency of athletics and survival, and another tool proficiency for navigator's tools. We get the feature Wild Space Adaptation, which gives us the tough feat, an extra 2 hit points per level. Moving on to our class, we have the Artificer. Now, things are going to be different from this build than in the Rivet video, I will assure you, as we are going to get into our multi-class here shortly. But with our Artificer, we do get proficiencies in light armor, medium armor, shields, simple weapons, hand crossbows, heavy crossbows, and firearms, which is an optional proficiency. DM's discretion. Tool proficiencies in Thieves' Tools, Tinker's Tools, Woodcarver's Tools, saving throws of Constitution and Intelligence, and 2 skills, Arcana and Investigation. We get Magical Tinkering, and of course the Spellcasting feature, which uses your Intelligence modifier. Quickly multi-classing into Rogue. We're going to get another proficiency and a skill. Insight will do just fine here. We also get expertise in Athletics and Investigation. We also get the Sneak Attack and Thieves' Con features. Level 2 Rogues get Cunning Action. Level 3 Rogue gets the Roguish Archetype. Now we're going to go over to Cobalt Press for our vehicle proficiencies, thanks to the Pilot, which came out with Reach for the Stars in their segment One with the Stars. This is an excellent Roguish Archetype. This gives you your bonus proficiencies in 2 two types of vehicles. We're going with sea and air. I would have done land, but technically those hover bikes and hoverboards are kind of an air vehicle, so I didn't want to really go for land. We also get the pilot superiority, very similar to combat superiority from the Battlemaster, because we get some maneuvers. We're going to go with the maneuvers evasive maneuver, firing solution, and juke. We also get the maneuver save DC using our intelligence modifier. I would recommend checking out Reach for the Stars, released by Cobalt Press. If I remember to, I will make sure to put a link to that page in the description down below. If I don't, you might find it somewhere on my community page, because I did gawk about how great this was. Or maybe I did it on Twitter. I don't remember. By the way, I have a community page if you guys didn't know. Moving on. Level 2 Artificer gets us the infused item, which is very useful. We're going to go with Homunculus Servant, Enhanced Weapon, Repeating Shot, and the Replicate Bag of Holding. I decided to go with the Homunculus Servant because it's very similar to Mr. Zircon and some other robotic companions that Ratchet can summon. At level 17, I would recommend getting the following infusions: Arcane Propulsion Armor, Enhanced Weapon, Helm of Awareness, Homunculus Servant, Repeating Shot, Replicate Bag of Holding, Replicate Cloak of the Manta, Replicate Dimensional Shackles, Replicate Gloves of Thievery, and Returning Weapon. I say the Replicate Dimensional Shackles and Cloak of the Manta because there are times when Ratchet doesn't have access to Clank, so he is going to have something that helps him with his gliding. And in Dimensional Shackles for one of the games where he had to deal with an interdimensional enemy, and he had to imprison them in another dimension. So, yeah, it made sense as a reference. Moving on to level 3 Artificer, we're going to go with an Artificer Specialist of the Artillerist. This will give us at least some replicas of some of our more famous weapons, especially with our Eldritch Cannon. There have been a couple times where we were able to summon just a turret, or multiple turrets, which was pretty cool. So I decided to go with that, Artillerist. And since we aren't using the Gunslinger Fighter, it just made sense to go with the Artillerist with this build. We get proficiency in Woodcarver tools, as well as the Artillerist spells of Shield and Thunderwave. Just for being a 3rd level Artificer, we also get the right tool for the job. For level 4 Artificer, I would recommend the feat Sharpshooter, instead of going with the ability score improvement, because we do have to deal with a lot of ranged attacks. Level 5 Artificers get the Arcane Firearm and the Artillerist spells of Scorching Ray and Shatter. That Arcane Firearm is definitely going to be useful. Be able to, I believe it infuses one of your spells into a staff, and then you can just fire out that spell whenever you need to. I think it's I think there's charges on it. You basically create a magical staff with charges. It's kind of cool. Level 6 Artificer gets Tool Expertise. Now you have expertise in your tools, and thanks to Right Tool of the Job, you have expertise in every single tool imaginable. Level 7 Artificer gets Flash of Genius. Level 8 Artificer gets an ability score improvement. Go ahead and increase your intelligence by 2 points. Level 9 Artificer gets Explosive Cannon and 2 more Artillerist spells, Fireball and Wind Wall. For level 10 Artificer, we get Magic Item Adept. Artificer level 11 gets Spell Storing Item. Level 12 Artificer gets an ability score improvement. Go ahead and increase your intelligence to 2 points, making it a 20 for this build. Level 13 Artificer gets artillery spells, Ice Storm and Wall of Fire. I don't think Ratchet has ever summoned an Ice Storm or a Wall of Fire, but there's still spells that come with the subclass. Level 14 Artificer gets the Magic Item Savant. Level 15 Artificer gets Fortified Position thanks to their Artillerist archetype. Level 16 Artificer gets an Ability Score Improvement. Go ahead and increase that Wisdom by 2 points. He's had a low Wisdom for long enough. And finally, level 17 Artificer gets the Artillery spells, Cone of Cold, and Wall of Force. This actually seems more up Ratchet's alley. Now, that might be the end of the build, but not the end of the video, as we still have spells to cover. And they're roughly the same as Rivet's spell list, with one exception. The 5th level spell, Create Spelljamming Helm. If you do not remember from the very first game, Ratchet actually tinkered with his own spaceship. So, yeah, it just makes sense for him to be able to create a Spelljamming Helm, which converts a vessel into a spacefaring vessel. We'll go ahead and go over the rest of the spells real quick, just so you remember which spells are which. You have Firebolt, Lightning Lure, Mending, Thunderclap as your cantrips, Featherfall, Jump, Sanctuary, Snare, and Tasha's Caustic Brew for your first level spells. Air Bubble, Blur, and Vortex Warp for second level. Third level spells, we have Glyph of Warding and Revivify. Now, I did have a question about Revivify. Why does Ratchet have it? Well, one, there aren't very many good Artificer spells that replicate Ratchet's weapons in the video games. Secondly, this is more of a reference to the mechanic of reviving after you have died over and over and over again. It's just a good reference to the game mechanic, but it's just a good spell to have in general. 4th level, we have Fabricate and Summon Construct, and of course, Create Spelljamming Helm at 5th level. And with that being said, that is the end of the video. I do hope that you enjoyed. And once again, this is Drayhan, and I will see you next week when I am online.